So, good morning.
Good morning.
Or since we're getting a little late start, maybe good afternoon. But,
No, it's not that.
everyone's been running just a little behind schedule. I know I have, and a few people other than myself I've noticed are also. So we're just on the right amount of time that we need to be for this day. So everything's fine. Welcome to the First Church of Religious Science in Vallejo on this beautiful, warm day. Our monthly topic for July is open communication, and communication derives from communion, and that's what we engage in during prayer and meditation. Ernest Holmes defines prayer as communion, elevating the consciousness to a recognition of the unity of all life. It is a recognition, unification, and communion. He further defines the highest form of prayer as seeking conscious union with God. So in our day-to-day goings about, let's, as we commune with each other, let's try to be mindful of the communion with God we're actually engaging in, communicating with God's expressions, and seek unification of each one to the other, knowing there's only one of us here. In doing this, our communications will be pure. So let's briefly contemplate this idea before going into the morning's invocation. Communing with each other, being mindful of the communion with God we're actually engaging in. Recognizing there is but one power and presence, one life, one perfect being which we all express, and in which we live and move and have our being. I invoke that presence, that spirit, that beloved one into this service. It's already here. There is no spot where God is not, and we merely recognize it more fully, moment by moment. So in calling it forth, we're calling it into view, into recognition, into appreciation for all that is going on within us, all around us, particularly in this place. In this very room, Spirit is. And it's expressing through each one of us, here, now, and always. So I bless this service, and I bless the music which is a part of this service. I bless the words which Reverend Jacquelyn will share with us today. I bless the food that is being provided for all of us. And I bless those who could not be here today, knowing wherever they are, they're in their right and perfect place. And for anyone, whether here or elsewhere, if there is a challenge you are facing, know that God is there in the midst of that challenge, in the midst of you, everywhere. The good is present. So let this service unfold in perfect divine order, knowing all is good for all is God, and so it is. It was time for our affirming statement, and in her healing letters, Myrtle Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, advises us to think of God, the all-powerful healer, as being already within you, in every part of your mind, heart, and body, and to harmonize our thinking and our prayers with actual living experience. It is the God in the midst of us that frees and heals. So let us see with eyes of faith God in our flesh and affirm and accept wholeness in every part of our body temple. As it states in Corinthians, glorify God in your body. So I'll ask you to join me with a brief affirmation. God is right where I am all the time. Can you join me in that? God is right where I am all the time. Thank you, and so it is. Our theme for July, I believe I mentioned earlier, is open communication. And Reverend Jacquelyn's talk for today is Pride and Prejudice. I don't know if that's after the book or the series. We'll find out. Our youth church is underway in the bookstore during the service. And anyone interested in becoming a teacher or volunteer for the youth group is asked to see Reverend Jacquelyn, Ikea, or Deborah after service for details. If you would like prayer treatment, please fill out a treatment request slip and place that in the collection, in the prayer box or the collection plate that comes around later in the service. Our practitioners work on every request for prayer treatment that we receive. And we'll also be available after service right in front of the stage. For anyone who wishes some brief individual prayer time, just come up to any one of us and ask for prayer, and you shall receive it. We always say yes. Follow Spirit's lead. Donations to the Hope Center Food Bank and the Lions Club Eyeglass Drive are always accepted. And thank you again for your ongoing generous donations. As a heads up, we'll have a guest speaker on Sunday, July 30th, Reverend Lisa Hamilton. And she will also conduct a yoga SOM, like Science of Mind, SOM, session that afternoon as part of our 5th Sunday Movement series. We do that every 5th Sunday. So please tell your friends. In fact, tell them about all of our Sunday activities here. We'd like to fill up some more of these seats here with your friends. And is there, yes, Ikea.
Just wanted to remind everybody that our new class, Beyond Limits, is starting August the 9th. It's a 10-week class, so it'll go into October. It is the new revived, refreshed foundation class. So if you've never taken any classes, this is a great one to take now. These classes, I said one time before when I had a chance to say anything, that I think the adult education classes that Centers for Spiritual Living offers are the best that any denomination offers. And the reason for that is, especially in the first few, they're not telling you about something far away from you. They're teaching you about yourself and giving you some tools to deal with life in a calm and positive way. The 2 books required are both by Ernest Holmes, Beyond Limits and How to Change Your Life. So you can sign up in the family room after service.
And just for those who did not catch any of that, that class begins on Wednesday morning at 11 a.m. Starting August 9th. And that's from 11 o'clock till 2:30. And bring a lunch.
To 2.
Till 2. Okay, so you don't have to stay as long as you thought. But bring a lunch, unless you're comfortable fasting during that noon hour. So, thank you. I'm sorry I neglected to mention that. I should have put that in. Okay, so our musical offering. We're going to taste and see on this one.
Yes, we are.
How to do that?
Taste My soul shall glory in the Lord, for God is so good to me. Taste and see, taste and see the goodness of the Lord. Oh, taste and see, taste and see the goodness of the Lord. Why don't we all do that chorus together? Taste and see, taste and see the goodness of the Lord. Taste and see, taste and see the goodness of the Lord, of the taste and see, taste and see the goodness of the Lord, of the Lord.
Thank you. Taste and see. And now, our own Reverend D. Jacquelyn Edwards speaking on Pride and Prejudice. Reverend Jacquelyn.
Hello. Hi. It's good to be seen. It's good to see you too. Hi. Hi. Happy Sunday. Thank you for being here in this warm, hot day that we're having outside. Taste and see the goodness of the Lord. Some time ago, we'll just leave it at that. Some time ago, I was doing a prayer, and in the prayer, I used the term the omniliciousness of God. And some wordsmith person, who also happens to be a minister, came up to me with her most serious cell phone and said, "So are you saying that God tastes good? You know, licious has to do with taste." And I said, absolutely. Absolutely. God tastes good. Tastes good. And one of the ways that we taste God is when we pray. Because when we pray, we're having God in our mouths, right? We're having the experience of expressing from the God self. God tastes good. When we take a bite out of that apple or the pear or it's fruit season, right? So watermelons are out. I was like stalking the watermelon truck. Dude, where are you? So finally he showed up yesterday. Actually, it wasn't yesterday, it was the day before. But when you taste the richness of the earth, are we not tasting God? Are we not tasting Spirit? And so Yes, absolutely. God is omnilicious. Omnilicious. So this title, Pride and Prejudice, I feel like I should give you a little background and then come back into it. And so I'm going to do a little bit of both, in part because I want to lay a good foundation. So for this month of July, this idea of open communications has been our theme. And it's not just our theme here at First Church of Religious Science Vallejo, but it is the theme throughout Centers for Spiritual Living. And various ministers are invited to write what they call talking points around the themes for the month and then tie that to the theme for the year, which is creating a world that works for everyone. I very, very rarely, if ever, I actually can't think of a time that I've used all of the talking points, or really any of them. If I tell the whole truth, what I typically do is I go and snatch some quotes, right? I find some quotes, because my colleagues find some really juicy quotes, and they sometimes own books or have resources that I don't have, so I might go find a quote from them. One of the things that has come up, however, on our illustrious ministers listserv is this question about, well, all of these talks and points for this month have been focusing on things like freedom and justice and stuff like that. How is that related to clear communications? Well, says I, and I've not said it on the listserv, I've had not quite an epiphany, but a realization in that practice what you preach kind of a way, that I am actually being called to participate on the minister's listserv. That I cannot point, right? I stood up here and said, when you point, what do you have? 3 fingers pointing back at you, right? So I can't point at them and criticize what they have to say and how they say it from my arrogant perch here of my 35 years in religious science. I get to participate. And that's what I tell you guys every Sunday, right? You get to participate. We get to be a part of life. We get to weave ourselves in and through it in those places that call us, and there are always places that call us. So the way in which these ideas of freedom, liberty, justice, all of that are connected to this idea of open communications is that I'm going to ballpark guess probably, I don't know, 95% of what goes on between us that is not harmonious is a result of some kind of miscommunications. Is the result of a miscommunication either one-to-one, you and I had a conversation, you said something or I said something, and the other person did not understand or took it out of their own context, oftentimes out of their own cultural context, to mean A, when in fact it means B. Now I'm going to give you a cultural context example. When I was working for the City of Oakland in Human Resources, one of the things, highlights, if you will, points, it was me, no, battery. One of the points that we would make to people, battery.
We can hear you in the,
Okay.
can Nathan hear in the back?
She was read it.
Because we're recording. One of the points that we would make to people is always make eye contact, right? When you go in the room and you meet the assessors, make eye contact. Well, we were saying that to the people and we were saying that to the assessors, and we were in fact telling the assessors, you should mark people down in the communications area if they don't come in and make eye contact with you. Well, lo and behold, we got a bold soul sister from China who came in and she said, you know what y'all need to understand is that in some Asian cultures, making eye contact is an insult. It is an insult. It is not a way of assuring that I'm paying attention to what you're saying, right? So then we had to go back and regroup and redo and rephrase and relook and add that into our tool jar. Add that into our tool jar. Yes, we want people to make eye contact, and when you're interviewing someone, right, who may be from a culture, and I, the analyst, am going to give you a little bit of a heads up, where that's not the way, right? Then we're going to ask that you not grade them down, that you not mark them down in that area. Or if you do, you take off 1 point instead of 5. Why you take off 1 point? Because we did still tell them in this arena, right? Because you have to be the thing that you're called to be in this arena. In this arena, eye contact is valued. So if you could just do the best you can, right? Okay, you with me? You're understanding what I'm talking about. Communications here. Perspective. Whose viewpoint is it? How does this one see it and judge the same thing versus how does this one see it and judge the same thing? So that takes us, again, in this realm of talking about communications, that takes us to having the courage to communicate with each other. Having the vision and the foresight to realize that through my communications, one to the other, I'm expanding the plane for both of us. Yes? Okay, so now we've established our framework. Pride and prejudice. Pride and prejudice comes from my adding on and looking for a springboard to the actual theme for the day, which is prejudice, right? But then there's that thing called know your audience. So I thought I would add a little bit to it and give us a little springboard, and then we bounce. So Pride and Prejudice is a novel. Anybody see the movie? Pride and Prejudice? Really?
Summary.
All y'all romantics out there, you've never seen that movie? Okay, well let me tell you a little bit about it. Pride and Prejudice is a romance novel by Jane Austen. It was written in 1813. And where the title comes from is that the lead character, Ms. Elizabeth Bennet, is very prejudicial in her judgments about just about everything in her world, but particularly about the ways in which people are supposed to connect for marriage, right? This is 1813 England, and most marriages of that class, at the class level, that what we would today probably call middle to upper middle class, were done on the basis of how is this going to enhance our mutual wealth, right? And so you have the classic, what is really the classic story, where boy meets girl, girl shuns boy, I don't like him, I don't care how much money he's got, I'm not interested, blah, blah, blah. The story goes on, there's some other things that happen in the meantime, and then she gets an opportunity through a series of events to see how actually, in fact, ooh, he's really kind of fabulous, that he's really a sweetie pie, that he's really got all of the qualities and characteristics that she wanted and that she wants. And so they get married, run off, and live happily ever after. That's a very, very, very abbreviated summary. But the point is that it takes the 250 or however many pages it takes for them to get to that point, because Elizabeth is just making all of these assumptions about dude, based on very superficial things, based on what she sees in some very limited experiences and expressions. Bishop Desmond Tutu, who is a South African social rights activist and retired Anglican bishop, says, "My humanity is bound up in yours, for we can only be human together." My humanity is bound in yours. We can only be human together. That means we've got to have some kind of interaction. That means we've got to have some kind of communications with each other. That means that we have to not be prejudicial in our interactions with each other, right? Judge not by appearances is one of the ways that we say that, one of the ways that we talk about that. I wanted to really understand what this word prejudice means. So you know that I look stuff up a lot, but I really wanted to understand it objectively outside of my own, because you know I got, right? I got all over about prejudice and how bad, wrong, and awful it is, etc., etc., etc. And in looking for definitions of both prejudice and pride, and in looking for the biblical and the Ernest Holmes support for these ideas, I came across an amazing to me concept. And that concept, which actually could have been the title of this talk, is an invitation to humility. An invitation to humility. Because as it turns out, in the biblical reference, there is this balance throughout Proverbs in 8 quotes. I'm not going to read all 8 of them to you, but I'm going to read a couple of them. In 8 quotes, there is this juxtaposition of pride and humility. There's this idea of put your pride aside and be humble, right? Be humble. Be grateful, is what I'm saying, for all of those ways in which you think that you are better than, for all of those ways in which you feel like this place where I stand is a good place, and that place where you stand, not so much, right? Look at where I stand, if that's how I feel about it, as a blessing. Count my blessings. Be grateful for what I have. And what the promise is that as I count my blessings, as I am made more humble, then my vision shifts. My vision shifts and I see differently. Then the one or the thing or the circumstance, and more often than not, now let's tell the truth, the people that I'm trying to criticize shift in my view. Because as I begin to anchor myself in spirit, because that's what gratitude does. Gratitude anchors us in spirit. As I anchor myself in spirit, my vision is expanded. And when I'm looking at you, oh wait, I can be quiet and listen to what you might have to say. And when I'm quiet and I listen to what you might have to say, I just might learn something. I might learn something that can benefit me in my goings about in the world, right? Now, I know that's all nice and lofty and high sounding, but there's another piece to it. And the other piece is that as I humble myself, as I pay attention to who you are, I'm also contributing to my own healing. Healing. Yeah. Now we have declared that this ministry, this place, is a place of healing. Right? Mental, spiritual, physical healing. So that means we have to look at healing all across the board. We have to look at healing in regards to our relationships, in regards to how we show up in the world, and in regards to our physicality, right? Because you can't do nothing if you don't feel good. Amen? I know. Well, let's see what Ernest Holmes said. Our guy. So, first of all, Ernest Holmes says in the Science of Mind textbook, early on, right, before you're tempted to go, I don't know what this man is talking about, and I don't understand how he's putting these sentences together, so I'm going to have to take a class. Early on, page 32 and page 33, right? Because we can all pretty much get round about page 50, maybe even 100, before we start going, Ernest, what are you talking about? He says, intuitively, we sense that every person in his or her native state is some part or manifestation of this eternal and changeless intelligence that we call God. So, back to when I am being humble, when I shut up. And by shut up, I don't mean just stop talking, but when I stop seeing the world through my personal, cultural viewpoint as being the only right viewpoint, when I stop doing that, right, then I recognize that every person is a manifestation of the divine. That's the first thing he says. Then he goes on, in case we didn't understand that, to say, intuitively we sense that every person in their native state, intuitive we know that the entire problem of limitation, evil, suffering, and uncertainty is not God ordained, but is the result of ignorance. Right? Ernest Holmes says ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance is not happy. That in fact, all of the errors, all of the bad, for lack of a better word, or unpleasant, or most certainly experiences that we don't want to have, are the result of ignorance. Now, the real word of ignorance is ignore, and ignore means not pay attention, right? Like I could ignore that the battery is dead on the headset and keep talking at it, just like I think it's recording and doing something, right? That would be pretty ignorant on my part. We don't like to use that kind of terminology when we're talking about ourselves, but we do little ignorant stuff every day. As your mama would say, and I mean all of your mamas, you know better, right? We know better, but we do it anyway. But I'm going to give us that is because we either did not know or did not understand or did not think about this thing that Holmes is saying, that when we act out of ignorance, we are contributing to problems of limitation, evil, suffering, and uncertainty. Now, I bet if you knew you was doing all of that, you'd pay a little closer attention. Right? Yes, maybe, even a little bit, or maybe the next part will get you. It has been written that the truth shall set us free. Ever heard that? And capital truth, so we know anything capitalized, he's speaking about spirit. Provided we know the truth and we note that the evolution of our consciousness brings with it the acquisition of new powers and higher possibilities. Let me get a little personal now. So when we're talking about the good old days, right, and how wonderful it was, and we want to go back to that again, and yada, 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 what we're saying is, I do not want to evolve. I do not want to shift. I do not want to grow. I do not want to be a part of the today and the tomorrow. And more importantly, what we're saying is, I don't want to open myself up to the goodness that God's got for me, that I can only receive if I am open and receptive, that I cannot receive if I'm stuck on last week or last year or 10 years ago. Right? I can't get it if that's where I'm living from. I had a healing this week. Yes, I'm going to talk about this. I'm having this debate in my head, right? So in this, let's have my right and perfect mate, partner, blah, 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 conversation in my head. I find myself reflecting back, and I even teach it a little bit. You know, if you go back to the relationships that you had, that you really liked, and see what those qualities were, and pull those qualities out, and blah, 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 right? So, in that, I'm thinking about, wow, I really shouldn't have broken up with so-and-so, because really, he was a good man, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. You see how I'm going to the past, right? Y'all feel me? Right, I'm being right there. And then that, of course, leads to a woe is me. Right? Then I had a healing. She's not here. Judy gave me a healing. Judy showed me the cover of this month's Esquire magazine. Idris Elba is on the front of this month's Esquire magazine. And I had to take a picture of it. So if y'all don't know who I'm talking about, after church, come see me. I'll show you the picture. Idris brought me into the present. Okay? Idris brought me right there. I got real clear, real quick, that living in the what was is not going to nurture, nourish, and support the right now, or the what can be. Because that was just a, oh yeah, kind of an experience, right? But I could not have seen that at all. I could have just gone, if I was deep in my what was. Now y'all know I'm being lighthearted and talking about relationships and all of that, but I'm talking about all of it. I'm talking about all of it. I'm talking about when we talk about going back to what was, for some of us, the majority of us in many places, what was sucked. If I might be spiritual about it. Right? When we come to the right now, when we look around this room and we see all the different folk that are in this room, we know, there's some right now kind of opportunity up in here. There's some right now kind of opportunity to see what we from our collective differences can put together in going forth and going forward. I said I was going to bring something from Ernest that would kind of anchor it in our own self-interest. So finally, Ernest Holmes says, we find ourselves torn by confusion, by conflict, by affirmation and denial, by emotions congested by fear. If it ain't love, it's fear, right? We've heard that. That's not new. By emotions congested by fear, congealed by pride. Right? With congestion, at least you got a little opportunity. You know, you take a little decongestion and, you know, but congeal, that's like when it comes like butter. It gets solid. When the stuff gets congealed, then you really got to work a little harder to move through it. Congealed by pride. We are afraid of the universe in which we live. We're scared. We're scared. So I'm here to tell you this morning, don't be scared. Don't be scared. We are afraid of the universe in which we live. Suspicious. Now you wrote this in 1936. Suspicious of people around us. Oops, there it is. Oops, there it is. Suspicious of people around us. Uncertain of the salvation of our own souls. Now, this is the self-interest piece. All these things negatively react and cause physical disorders. All these things cause physical disorders, right? So then it comes to, okay, I might not really be interested because Jesus said love everybody and all of that. That really might not be my motivating factor. And that's okay. That's really all right, because whatever gets you there, gets you there. All roads lead to Mecca. But that backache I've been having, I might be interested in getting rid of that. That dis-ease that's going on with me, I might be interested in shifting that. So from this place of my interest in shifting that, maybe I'm willing to be a little bit more fearless. Maybe I'm willing to be a little bit more adventurous. Maybe I'm willing to cast aside my old beliefs and see what God's got for me. See what Spirit has waiting for me. I promised some Bible quotes. So it's interesting that a good chunk of them are in Proverbs. What is also interesting, and Holmes was writing in 1936, but the Bible was written, and the Old Testament was written a couple of 3,000 years ago, right? So I gotta say, this is my disclaimer, or this is my whatever. I gotta say that what I know is that while it might sound similar, that we're at least have spiraled up. That we're at least have evolved to a place where it might be some of the same principle operating, right? But we also have much more divine intelligence operating. Yeah? Can we be with that? Okay, because interestingly enough, the places that most talk about this theme is in Proverbs. And Proverbs was written by Solomon, King Solomon, who was the son of David. So yes, we're in the Hebrew nation. Now, wanting to know a little bit more about Solomon, when I Googled Solomon, not when I looked up and said, what do the Jews have to say and what do the Muslims have to say? But when I just put in Solomon, Google felt compelled to share with me these two facts. According to the Talmud, the Jewish wisdom teaching, Solomon is one of the 48 prophets. In comma, not even a new sentence. In the Quran, he is considered to be a major prophet. Muslims generally refer to him by the Arab name Suleiman. I just found that interesting. That we have, where we look up one of the great kings, both the Jewish and the Muslim, the Islamic. I just find that interesting. Don't y'all find that interesting? Look at that. brothers. To those quotes, Proverbs 8:13 says, I hate pride and arrogance, evil behavior, and perverse speech. Kind of throws it all in there together. Proverbs 18:12, before a downfall, the heart is haughty, but humility comes before honor. Proverbs 11:2, when pride comes, then comes disgrace, but with humility comes wisdom. With humility comes wisdom. I want to close with some clarity, because I know us, and by us I don't mean just this community, I mean I know us people, because I'm one of us. That when we look at the definition of pride, like most words, there's this pride in this context that we have been talking about, which effectively equals judgment, right? And effectively equals narrow judgment and limited, restricted judgment. And then there is a reasonable or justifiable self-respect. Delight or elation arising from some act, possession, or relationship. And they use the example of parental pride. As a born-again religious scientist, I am proud of the contributions that this philosophy has made and is making to creating a world that works for everyone. I am very proud of that. And I invite you to join me in that pride, right? In that pride, in that stand up kind of way, right? Where we say and mean it, the God in me sees the God in you. Amen? Amen. And so it is. So, Alex is not here, which means that no one got appointed to bring up the gratitude basket. Thank you, Ashley. Live free. You weren't even born in 1977. I love it. It's a nice t-shirt. Okay, you know the routine. Oh, you're going to stand on that side. Okay.
I'm grateful for all the people who helped me manifest a healing for my precious kitty. I am grateful for the coming together of prayers and love. Kitty and I are blessed.
Alrighty. And that's Gloria. Thank you. Thank you. So I want to remind us that there are sheets on that back table in the far corner that are gratitude sheets. Everybody in here has got something to be grateful for. If for nothing else, then you're breathing. Right? Yeah? Some of people take that a step further. How you doing? I'm above ground. Right? So we all have something to be grateful for. So would you share that gratitude? Because just in the declaration of it, you expand the goodness that flows into your life. All right? And so, let's see. Roger. I'm going to come back over here. Okay? Right. So, turn around. I'm going to give you the mic.
Okay.
Say hello to the people.
Hola.
And tell them, what's your name?
I'm Roger McCool.
And what do you do around here?
Not much. I make my great food
Zen garden?
in Zen garden.
Zen garden, he says, like so casually, right? The Zen garden was a mess. Let me just tell the whole thing. The Zen garden was a mess. And Roger has both gotten it in line and is doing our maintenance.
And I'm bringing bamboo to match the one that died. Bamboo, excuse me. Japanese maple.
Japanese maple.
We have one that decroaked because the drip line fell out of the pot.
Okay,
So I'm using different attachments.
all right.
Would you like me?
Would you like to?
Yeah, why not?
Hey! Okay, I hold the box, you pray. I like that. See, you get them going and,
Right here in this moment, I am alive with the Spirit of God because there is only one life, and that life is God. And that God and that Spirit fills everything, everywhere. And I know right now I am God in action, God in mobility, God in love, God in compassion. And that each moment I am moving forward, moving into a greater realization of this truth that is already mine. And I know right now that all that I am blessed by Spirit, and this same blessing that exists for me exists for everyone who has put a request into the prayer box, and that they are right now healed, and healed completely and absolutely without any doubt. And I give great thanks for this healing, great thanks for this abundance of God's love, knowing that it is so, and so it is.
and so it is. Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. All righty, so we have an affirmation. Yes, this is one of the longer ones. I want to start with, there on the last line, in you I see God. Right, we all see that?
Yeah.
All right, so if we could just walk the week with that, with just that piece. I'm not asking you to memorize the whole thing. This is not that part of school. But if we can just walk with that, in you I see God, as we walk the world this week. So together, let's start at the beginning. Today, I willingly let go of any bias I may have held against anyone and see everyone through the eyes of love. It is here in love that indeed in you I see God. And so it is.
So it is.
And so it is. Hey, how are you?
Very good.
Okay, everybody knows the real I see in this face. This affirmation is inside your program, upper right-hand corner. Everybody ready? Okay. Divine love consecrates my gift. It goes forth to heal, to prosper, and to bless. It is evidence of my conviction that God is the source and the substance of my supply. I release my gift knowing that it returns to me multiplied abundantly, and so it does.
I say it, amen. He is laughing at my animation. The world that is always, not sometimes, within. God bless the giver and the receiver. I am excited about the multiple ways in which this money is multiplied in the pockets, right? Because the universe abhors a vacuum, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, money, flowing freely and copiously to the givers and to the receiver. This place, First Church of Religious Science, Vallejo, who in full form is also a giver, because we live in divine circulation. And so I am grateful for that place called divine circulation and the magnificent ways in which money is just simply multiplied. I bless every penny here, knowing that it goes exactly to the perfect place to do absolutely the most good. And so I thank the givers. I thank this place called First Church of Religious Science, Vallejo, and I release this prayer and this money to just go do good. And so it is. And so it is. So while we're waiting for our children to come, I want to say this week I'm going to the International New Thought Alliance. And it starts on Tuesday and it goes through next Saturday, so I'll be back next Sunday. I am sharing that with you for a couple of reasons. One of them is the reason that I'm going, because I looked at it and I don't know. But I'm going because one of the people who is being honored, Dr. Arthur Chan, who is the senior minister at Founders Church of Religious Science in LA, is truly one of the icons in this movement. The other reason I'm going is because one of my friends and mentors is going to be one of the speakers there. And so I'm going to go celebrate with these folks. So the kids have come in, the children have come in. Come on forth, come on down. And come down, teacher. Annette, I'm going to give Annette.
Do I really need it?
Yes.
Okay, so we had a lovely little time today, and I think Sunny's going to tell you what we did today.
So today we made these booklets. They're gratitude booklets, and we were talking about what we were grateful for and what to say before, like, you're telling someone something that might help them, and if it will help you, and to like think before what you say.
And what wonderful little girls, wonderful young ladies to just be near, and they're so sweet already, and I think the Spirit has been in them, and they just are just full of God in them all the time. Do you want to say anything, Jade? Okay. It was just a really nice time we had learning about God and how the Spirit works in us and through us. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty, so let's stand up. These shoes are not going to Phoenix. They're cute though. Hey. So. Blessings, blessings, abundant blessings flowing freely and copiously from sources known and unknown. I bless everyone in this service today, knowing that without each one that is here, and the consciousness and awareness that they bring to this place, it simply would not be the same. I bless each one of us as we leave on our journey from this place, knowing that we travel in light and in love, and we share it wherever we go. For those that are staying and enjoying our wonderful, wonderful lunch, I bless the food. I bless every animal, vegetable, or mineral that consented to be in the food today. I bless the way in which both the food and the conversation nourishes our bodies, our minds, our souls, our spirits, and enhances our knowing of and as each other. I release this prayer to the immutable, perfect, and impeccable law that is always and in all ways God in action. And so it is.
So it is.
And before we start, the other thing, the part of why I was telling you I'm going on this trip next week is because I'm actually going to be going on a few journeys over the next 3 or 4 months. And I want you to know that I'm leaving you in very good hands. Reverend Ed is going to be the speaker the first week in August. Yes? Yes, he said yes. I was grateful for that. Margaret Storks is going to be the speaker on September 10th. She said yes, right? And at the end of the month, we're having Reverend Lisa Hamilton. I will be here for that because it's a movement Sunday. All right. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. All righty.